talk about Bitcoin. You have another fund giant, Franklin Templeton, that is jumping in. They submitted their spot Bitcoin ETF application. They are a 1.4 trillion with a T asset manager. Okay, so now we got like 9 applications. Okay, and these guys are among the biggest on the planet. BlackRock, Fidelity. Now you got Franklin Templeton, Invesco, Wisdom Tree, and it goes on and on and on, right? That's a huge, huge list. And if you add it all up, they hold, okay, around 18 trillion assets. Now, it doesn't mean that 18 trillion is going to be flowing to Bitcoin, but think about it. If BlackRock, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, these guys are holding trillions of assets, right? Think about the demand from their customers for Bitcoin spot ETF, which is why they submitted an application. We're talking about billions upon billions upon billions that'll be flowing into the space, right? So here's another one. Everyone is jumping in. And why do you think they're jumping in right now? Because they know this is the time. A spot Bitcoin ETF is going to get approved. And when one does, all of them will. And no one wants to miss this bull run, the parabolic run that's coming in 2024. They all know that. They studied the history. Some of them probably watch me. I don't know if that's true, but maybe. There's a lot of hidden Georges out there. But they know what's coming in 2024, right? It's the quadfecta. You have rate cuts, you have presidential election, you have the Bitcoin halving, and of course, you have spot Bitcoin ETFs being improved. It's the quadfecta, okay? And not to mention the growing fundamentals that I talk about every single day, growing adoption and utility, and countries worldwide all looking to enter Bitcoin, right? So, of course, they're going to be entering. So this is, of course, another major news for Bitcoin. And we will see more. More and more and more will be coming in. It's just, there's no stopping this. All right. Now, a lot of you guys may have noticed that we're in September. September is traditionally not a good month. But here's the thing. Isn't it amazing that today is already September 12th. Tomorrow's the 13th. That means half of this month is already over. Okay? Think about it. Half of it's over and we're still in the green. This is what I told you guys at the beginning of the month. Just because September has historically been a bad month doesn't mean that it will for sure be a bad month. Considering that we had a pretty bad August, right? And we had a bad July. So we may end up in the green for this month. And then look at what's next. October, historically, very, very, very green month. And we're like only 2 months away. It's amazing how fast time flies, right? We're about halfway through already. And so far, so good. And that's because there's just so much goodness. There's just so much goodness. And the fundamental of Bitcoin has never been better. If you care about lines, you care about technicals, this is what it's looking like. It's like a fractal pattern versus previous drawdown from 2018 all the way to 2020, right? It looks very similar on a smaller scale. But overall, we know Bitcoin has never been stronger and will only continue to move forward, and it'll bring us to the promised land, right? It will. It always does. When in doubt, zoom out, right? So a lot of goodness happening. Today, we have more of that, but Coinbase finally decided to embrace Lightning Network, okay? Lightning Network is a payment settlement layer for Bitcoin, makes payments much faster and cheaper. Of course, why, as an exchange with millions and millions and millions of transactions, why would you not embrace it, right? It's not as easy as said as done. So Brian Armstrong did say this is going to take a while, but he's going to commit to it. So that's very positive, right? And Cathie Wood loves this move, thinks that this integration will give 100 million users an on-ramp to faster and cheaper Bitcoin transactions, because Coinbase has 100 million users. They are absolutely huge, right? So that is very positive indeed. What else is positive? Well, address activity has surged to a 5-month high. That's no surprise. Okay, Bitcoin activity is just high. It's just really high. Now, some of this is helped by the fact that altcoins are a little bit weak recently, right? So that may push more people towards Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is never going to go away. Like I said, it's going to be around basically, I think, forever. Nothing will ever replace Bitcoin. The others can be replaced. Bitcoin will not be. Okay, and more people are turning to it because of, the spot Bitcoin ETFs, and many other things that's happening, right, within the space. But yeah, this makes a whole lot of sense. When in doubt, zoom out, and then you'll realize that Bitcoin has been doing pretty much the same thing since the beginning. And if you're looking at it this way, you really can't be fearful, right? I've told you guys this. There are some naysayers out there, some really bearish people that will always be bearish. I don't know why. Or maybe they just turn bearish because they're just, something happened to them. They made a mistake and they're now projecting their fears out, right? But, as someone that's been through the past 2 cycles, which is basically all 3 of them, 2 out of 3, or 3 out of 4, you could say. I know this is what happens, right? You have long periods of time where you stay low and is very fearful, but then you move past it and you form a new high every single time. And then you form new lows too, higher lows, higher highs. The pattern keeps going and it never deviates. It never changes. So why? Look at where we are now in this circle. Why would you be leaving right now? It makes no sense, of course. I don't think any of you guys are leaving. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But yeah, if you're looking at this, how could you not be bullish, right? Something else that's interesting is if you're looking at this, the Mayer multiple, okay, this basically tells you when you want to be buying and accumulating Bitcoin, right? They're basically the really extreme bottom low points of every cycle. And you could see that, yeah, this doesn't happen a lot, but we are actually 16 months in below this lower trend line, which means it's still a great time to be accumulating and DCAing, right? Just like if you look at what happened in 2015 and 2016 when Bitcoin fell to $150. Okay, think about that. For 12 months, people could have bought Bitcoin under 200. Did they at that time? No, very little, right? Just like for 6 months in 2018, 2019, people could have bought Bitcoin under 4,000. Did they? Very little people did. Same thing in 2020. We had just a month below $4,000. Did people take advantage of Bitcoin at that point? No, very little people did. Some people did, but very little people jumped in because they were fearful that another dip or another low was around the corner.